This is what I call the concept of the 35-year dinner, right? I looked at him and I said, hey, son, I'm in my late 40s. He's a teenager. And I said, listen, in 35 years, when I'm in my 70s and you're in your 30s and 40s, when we have that dinner 35 years from now, what do you want to have that conversation sound like? Yo, what's up, everyone? This is the N2N podcast. I'm your host, Dr. N2N. And as my friends affectionately call me Ninja, and because my listeners are my friends too, you can call me Ninja as well. This is the N2N podcast, the alpha to the omega, the beginning to the end, offering ideas about life, inspiration, motivation, entrepreneurship, business, and little pearls for this all-you-can-eat buffet called life. It's great to be back in the studio. It's been some time. We've changed our environment just a tad, and I hope you like it because I love it. You'll see as we're starting and growing this podcast, we're going to be changing things up, trying to get the best look and feel to give you the best product and content that we can. Once again, this is a free podcast, so if anything I tell you or talk about during this episode or any of my other episodes works for you, you find value in it, you smile, you giggle, you feel good, please do share, comment, and like the N2N podcast. If you're new to the podcast, just a little bit about my background. Immigrant refugee from Vietnam, war-torn country, came here with my parents, my immediate family. They accomplished the American dream, setting a great example for me. Went off to college, got trained as a physician, also a lawyer. And what I do today is I have my law firm. We practice in Houston, Texas with a nationwide reach, but also I'm involved with a bunch of other entrepreneurial endeavors. So in technology, healthcare, a variety of spaces. And what I want to do with this podcast is share my experiences, the things that knowledge that I've gained, and share them with you. So hopefully along your journey, again, to reach your highest potential that you can, your highest controllable potential. And if you don't know what that means, go back to episode 1 and you'll understand that we're always trying to help and inspire people to reach their highest controllable potential. And the mission of this podcast is to positively affect as many lives as we can across this planet, hopefully reach 1 billion people. Anyway, back into today's topic, I want to talk about perspective and depth of perspective, okay? It's studies have been shown that the legacy families, people that endure beyond their death, always have a long-term range of thinking. And that long-term range of thinking, not talking about long-term next month, next year, not next decade. We're talking about long-term generational thinking. When you put your life in that perspective, oftentimes it's going to be able to help you make the daily decisions with the bigger goal in mind, okay? And what do I say this? I give you an example. The other day I was talking to my son. As you all know that listen to me, he's a basketball player. We've got big goals for him, self-driven. And, wherever he ends up, he ends up. But the idea is that you got to put the work in, right? So I'm talking to my son, and, he didn't give his best effort in a particular training session, right? Which I understand. Things happen. You have good days, you have bad days and down days. But to summarize the training session, it wasn't because of lack of effort. It was because of lack of focus and attention to the little details to make it a solid training session. And so in the car ride home from his session, as we always do, have those father-son conversations, kind of asked him, like, what is he thinking? What's in his mind? What's on his mind? Why was he not focused? And the conversation led to what his goals were. And, his goals obviously is to get to the next level wherever he is. But the conversation I gave to him, and this is what I call the concept of the 35-year dinner, right? I looked at him and I said, hey, son, I'm in my late 40s. He's a teenager. And I said, listen, in 35 years, when I'm in my 70s and you're in your 30s and 40s, when we have that dinner 35 years from now, what do you want to have that conversation sound like? Do you want it to sound like, I coulda, woulda been had I just did enough work? Or do you want that dinner conversation to be a celebration about how much you've achieved over those 35 years, right? In similar fashion, for you, think about someone you care about or someone who's close to you, who might be older or younger, and think about that dinner conversation 35 years from now, right? What is that conversation going to be like about your life, right? So for me, for example, in 35 years, when I sit down with my wife and we reminisce, what is that conversation going to be? Did we come together over the issues we disagreed about so we can move our family to the next phase of our lives? Or was it we could have done more, or could have achieved more, or could have done more for our kids? Or would it be about, hey, I accomplished my dreams, but I sacrificed for your dreams, which is kind of an unfair conversation? Or was it, hey, we supported each other for both of us to achieve our dreams? So it's a concept that I developed just randomly because my father is in his 80s. We had a health scare with him earlier this year. And, now, me being in my late 40s, him in his 80s, we're having the conversation now about what my past 35 years have been. And I can say through personal experience with my father is that conversation was about actually how proud he was of me and how all the things I've done to represent him, and my mom's sacrifice, leaving, a very good life in Vietnam, coming to America with nothing, and starting over again, making that sacrifice for his family, me, and how I've honored him through what decisions I've made in my life. So that 35-year conversation with him, had I thought about this 35 years ago, has been fulfilling to me, very much so. So I encourage you, if you want to build your legacy, if you want to sort of keep the bigger, broader perspective in mind when you're having difficulty or when you're having setbacks or anything that is challenging in your life, to help push you through that, keep that 35-year dinner in mind. When you're going to sit down 35 years from now with whomever, your spouse, your best friend, your child, your parent, that conversation, what will that content be? What will the feelings be in that moment you're sharing those times? You're reminiscing. Is it a sense of regret, or is it a sense of celebration? So the 35-year conversation. So circling back after having this conversation with my son and giving those examples with my dad, how have things changed for him? Well, his energy, his enthusiasm for basketball has grown. As he's physically grown, his perspective is growing. The length of his perspective and goals are growing, and you can see it in his play. He's coming in quicker, stronger, putting in more work outside of practice, his regular practices, and it's translating into his game. And so it's positively reinforcing his immediate activities. I can't help but to say that the idea of sitting down with him 35 years from now, having my whiskey, he's drinking whatever he's drinking, we're sharing a steak, dinner, what that conversation is going to be like. I'm really excited for that. Not based on his achievement, because some things are certainly out of your control, but the conversation about the effort that was put into trying to achieve your goal. That happens in life where, you work your ass off but don't get what you want. Those are moments to actually be proud of, because it's the effort that counts. And sometimes the end result may or may not happen because of things out of your control. But remember, it's your highest controllable potential. And if you put all that effort into the process, the results are the results. And more oftentimes than not, it's going to be a good result. Okay? And so with that 35-year conversation is going to be about how strong of an effort we made to try to get to the success that we want. So how can you apply the 35-year dinner conversation concept to your life? Well, obviously, similar to me, if you have kids, teenagers that can understand the concepts, especially as they're learning about themselves and what they want to do with their life and their effort and how much work they're willing to put in, certainly that is a time you can bring up this concept. Alternatively, if you're married or have a significant other or have a partner and you want to talk about your individual goals along with your goals as a family unit, have that conversation about what that 35-year conversation is going to be about. Because from there, you can map out going backwards. You look at the goal, work backwards in the steps, how you can help each other and support each other and put forth the effort you need to get to that time where 35 years from now, when you're sharing a glass of wine, the conversation is going to be a very positive and supportive one rather than one full of regret. Once again, everybody, this content is brought to you free and no sponsors. It's on my own cost. So if you liked anything you heard today, please do like, comment, and share. It helps build our audience. You can always follow us at N2N Podcast on all socials or the N2N podcast.com. Thanks for listening. I will look forward to talking to you next time.